Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. Today we're going to continue on with this week's theme of covers. We're going to check out an original song today, and if you come back tomorrow at the same time, we're going to check out a cover of it. Today we're going to be looking at a song from the Toho games. This one is by the composer ZUN, and the song is called Tomorrow Will Be Special, Yesterday Was Not. Let's dive into this one and see what he's got for us today. Yeah, it's got a real nice upbeat vibe to it. Almost whimsical and adventurous in many places. Yeah, I love how the moving element shifted between voices there. That bass line underneath just kind of keeps the whole song rooted, while the rest of the stuff is just really elevating it. There's a big brightness to what's going on, but there's also a bit of melancholy, like right there, the way that chord progression ended. There's uncertainty or something underneath all of this. Something just a little off. Halftime feel with the repetition of the melody. Those strings in the backgrounds almost sounds like a harp. And the way that it almost sounds like it's panning just due to the heavy reverb on it. Yeah, more exploration of that underlying instability. Yeah, it sounds like we've hit the loop now. This is certainly back to the beginning. But it reminded me again of that really beautiful melody passing along between the two instruments there at the beginning. talking about that harp sound having reverb to it, but I think there's actually a second harp that's just quieter left hands, and it's playing offbeat strikes. Man, this harp idea in the background here is so clean. It keeps the energy moving alongside the drums while the melody holds these long notes out. All right. So, yeah, very cool stuff. I'm always interested in listening to ZUN's music just because it is highly expressive. I think that's the best way I can put it. Um, he writes music that just encompasses the themes and ideologies and, um, from what I understand, also the gameplay storytelling. The last song we checked out from him, I believe, was a boss theme, and a lot of people in the comments said that what I was describing described the boss battle very well. So, yeah, ZUN just has a great attention to detail of connecting music to things, whether it's a character's personality or ideas. Like this one's very whimsical, or possibly even character storytelling. It's just, it has a real great sense for that. And I don't think this is any different. There is definitely a lot of really cool ideas in here that are implying concepts that I might be missing out on due to not having the context of the game. I don't know what's specifically happening, what this song, who this song's tied to, or what place this song's tied to, or anything like that. But it's definitely exploring some ideas that I think are working very well together. Um, it's let's just start from the top. It is a gorgeous, whimsical track, and some of that's going to come down to the timbre of the instruments. We have the harp in there, and the harp is already just going to have this beautiful element to it. And I really like this lead synth pad. I couldn't quite place where I've heard it before or what instrument it's kind of replicating, what instrument it's emulating, but it is warm. It's very warm, and it has this nice legato element to it. And legato is a style of attack as far as notes are concerned. We have staccato, which is harsher attacks. We tend to think of them as like two, 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 two. And that's sort of like when you think of fast tremolo picking in metal music, that really sharp, harsh start to the beginning of notes. Legato is softer. It's sort of like slurring, but there is a delineation between sounds. You're not just continuing a sound into a new note. There is a stop there, and we tend to vocalize those as do's or loos, do 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 loo 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 loo, where you can hear the change There is a moment between changing of notes, where there's a new attack, but it's not harsh, it's not aggressive, it just kind of flows with the sound. And I really like that legato sound that he's found or created for this lead synth pad. It just creates this nice flowing element to it. And the whole song kind of retains that concept of flow. The last song we checked out was aggressive in some parts. It was chaotic. It was punky, and we actually did see a punk drum pattern come up in this one. I thought it was interesting, but it also worked. We'll get into that in a bit. But that flow, every piece of this song is just kind of like watching a river move along. There's going to be rocks that break it up, but it just kind of goes with the flow of it. It's calming, it's soothing. There's nothing in here that's too aggressive. Um, and again, that sort of goes along with the whimsy of it. It also kind of gives me a folky aspect. I don't know if some of that was just the harp, but yeah, a little combination between the whimsy of the music and some of the timbres that are utilized kind of give me like a folky, not fountain, foresty kind of vibe to this whole song. Also, speaking of forest vibes, did anybody else hear um, Kokiri Forest vibes or Kirby vibes in this? We're still on this video game kick. Yeah, like 100% I heard Kirby in in a couple of these melody lines. So I'm curious if maybe that was intentional or maybe just subconsciously added in there. Maybe ZUN's never played a Kirby game or listened to a Kirby soundtrack. I don't know, but yeah, it's just very cool to hear what I perceive as these influences in this song, which I didn't hear last time. The last song we checked out from ZUN, at least from what I could tell, was influenced heavily by non-video game soundtracks. There's some unique ideas in there. There's some stuff that I saw was kind of pulled from more of a rock element. So it was really cool to see some callbacks, possibly callbacks, intentional, to other popular video game composers. But yeah, so there's this whimsical foresty vibe going on in here, and I just absolutely love it. But the thing is that while there is this relaxing, soothing element, and the song has this sort of upbeat, adventurous thing going on with it, there is something underneath the surface that is less stable. I'm not really sure what was being alluded to here. I think I mentioned melancholy at one point, but that was not right. And then another point, I said uncertainty, and I think uncertainty works a lot better. It's not that it's always the end of a chord progression. It's the resolution that doesn't quite land correctly. And it could be an uncertainty, it could be a regret, it could be anything that would symbolize an instability, or anything that could be represented by or symbolized by instability. And it pulls me to the track title, Tomorrow Will Be Special, Yesterday Was Not. It's this concept of looking towards a brighter future despite our darkened past. Um, and maybe it could be thinking back on the past and seeing how those actions could be influencing the future. Like, even though tomorrow looks brighter, what if tomorrow is based on what happened today or yesterday? What if the events that we perceive negatively in our history are influencing what could happen next? It looks bright, but it might not be. And yeah, and I think it's really interesting that at first it's hinted at. When we get to that first main driving section, we do a repetition of this eight. I think it's an 8-bar phrase, but it's a 4-chord progression. The chords are held out for 2 bars each. And when we land, though, when we finalize this, it doesn't land right. It feels like it's missing something. It feels like it's just not where it should be. But then, not too long after that, we cycle back into that bright, happy, flowy kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's just a temporary thing. But a couple sections later, we move into a section that's primarily showcased with lower end stuff. It sounds like synth pads that are supposed to be emulating like cellos, lower string instruments, maybe like a tuba-esque sound in there to kind of fill out against the string. You get that nice brass bassiness to it. But it's a very big, bassy sound, and it continuously dives into this instability in the chordal structure. So what started as, maybe it's little thing is actually kind of growing into a larger idea, and it feels like whatever cracks or whatever events are causing this instability are deepening, they're widening, they're continuing to grow, and whatever was not great about yesterday, its ramifications are becoming worse, or maybe they're just becoming more visible. Maybe tomorrow won't be quite as special as we had pictured. So yeah, I already know a lot of Toho. I don't ever know how to pronounce it. uh, they're gonna be popping up in here, and hopefully y'all will let me know what's going on, how this relates to the game or the story or anything like that, wherever this song pops up and what it relates to. I'm really curious about what that instability means as far as the context of the video game. Something else I absolutely loved about this was the use of secondary instruments, or secondary melody lines, I would say, even would work well. In the very beginning, we have that lead synth tone, and it does a little run, and there's a right panned something, another synth, I guess. It might actually be the harp. And the lead voice does like 3 bars of movement, and then the last bar, it just kind of holds a note. We get a nice whole note there. And what the right panned instrument was doing was holding out some chordal notes. I think it might have been roots. But then on this last bar, it takes the movement and it gets, some eighth notes or whatever to keep the idea moving. And it's passing the movement along between these two instruments. And we see it do this a couple of times, and I think it's fantastic. I would love to see more of it. I don't know. I think ZUN is a very good composer, and he does what needs to be done, what he feels works best. So he seems to work within restraint, not ever overdoing it. But I would absolutely love to have seen more of a presence in this section of this back and forth sort of call and response, passing the torch idea. It was, like I said, it's only 1 bar that it happens, and I would have loved to see more back and forth possibly. But again, I don't know what the context is. It could be that these instruments represent ideas or people in the story. Like I said, there's a strong connection between the music and the game, so it could be that whatever metaphorical concept is he's trying to recreate here would not work with that. But just on a purely musical level, I'd love to see more of that back and forth. I think it works very well, especially with the textures and timbres that ZUN has here. And then the other thing I want to touch on is during one of the big moving sections, the lead instrument has kind of slowed it down a little bit and is playing these really beautiful melodic lines formed with longer notes. They're not necessarily whole notes. He's not holding out these tones forever, but it is moving a bit slower than we saw in the section prior to it. But there's a harp in the background that is just going bananas on eighth notes. And it is just one of the most gorgeous things I've heard as far as utilizing simplicity to its maximum effort. We have like quarter notes and whole notes on top, and then eighth notes running beneath it. It's not a super complex idea, but just the way that the notes line up, what eighth notes are being played under these held notes, and when the held notes move, how does the harp move with it? Does it move up with it? Does it move down with it? And the different dyads that are created in the moment to moment, these really quick sections of dyad movement is just, I absolutely love it. It really sells the that whimsical adventure but there's definitely a driving force here. We have more momentum, and that's usually paired with, I believe this was the section, with that punky drum rhythm going on too. So the intensity of the section has ramped up, but it hasn't lost that magic from the section before it. It still has that really nice woodland kind of vibe going on. And yeah, just a really nice way to increase the intensity of the section without making it feel more dangerous. And that is, I mean, like I said, it's such a craft, such a skill that ZUN has as far as knowing exactly how to create a vibe and knowing exactly what vibe and what series of vibes a song should be, and just does such a phenomenal job with it. I think that's going to be all of my thoughts here. Pretty sure I went over everything I wanted to. Be sure to come back tomorrow, especially if you're new here, if you just don't care about other reactions, but it happened to be Toho, so you're like, yeah, I'm checking this one out. Tomorrow we'll be looking at a cover of this track. So, I don't know, set an alarm or, maybe subscribe. That'd be pretty nice. But like I mentioned earlier, hit me in the comments. Let me know what's going on. If you enjoyed this or not, if I was wrong about anything, if I was right about some things, let me know where I was on this, and my analysis, understanding of what's going on, completely divorced from the game itself. Above the comment section is a description box, and in there is a link for Linktree. Takes you to this menu right here, which has links for everything related to the channel. You can join the Patreon, help support the channel, and vote on future themes and songs. You can submit special selection, you can buy some merch, follow me on Twitter, join the Discord community. There's a bunch of stuff in there. Go ahead and check it out. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. In about 7 minutes, I guess, we're going to have our special selection for today. To save anybody time so they're not waiting around, we're going to be looking at a Tom Waits song. Pretty excited about that. Tom Waits continues to impress me with the variety of music that he creates and the visceral aspects of them. If that sounds interesting, stick around. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual. We'll be doing our final cover for the theme, and a creator request, which is where a band asks me to check out their music. Alright, until next time, remember to be critical but not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.